Hello everyone, you are welcome on Errors Flow. Welcome in this presentation. We are going to understand system design from a beginner's perspective. Whenever we build software, writing code is only one part of the process. We must also decide now how different parts of the application will communicate, where the data will be stored, and how the application will handle millions of users. System design is the process of converting requirements into a technical architecture. It helps us build systems that are scalable, reliable, secure, and easy to maintain. Throughout this presentation, we will explore the important concepts of system design using simple explanations and a practical UI shortener example. Welcome on the slide 2. A system that works for 10 users may not work for 10 million users, right? For a very small application, a single server and one database might be enough. The architecture remains simple because the number of requests is limited. When the application grows to 10,000 users, we may need multiple servers, load balancing, and caching. Now, if it was for 10k, at 10 million users, the system must handle much more traffic and data. We may need database replication, data partitioning, distributed service, and failure recovery mechanisms. Right? System design helps us anticipate this growth. Instead of waiting for the application to fail, we prepare the architecture to handle increasing demand. System design is the process of deciding how components, data, and communication work together to meet a system's goals. The process begins with inputs such as business goals, user journeys, expected traffic, data volume, budget, security, needs, and technical limitations. Based on this information, we create an architecture. The architecture identifies the main components, their responsibilities, the APIs between them, and the way data moves through the system. Therefore, system design is not simply about drawing boxes and arrows. Every component should exist for a specific reason, and every important technical decision should be supported by the system's requirement. Now, before designing the architecture, we must understand two types of requirements. Functional requirements. Functional requirements describe what the system must do. For example, users may need to create an account, publish content, search for information, make payments, or receive notifications. That is functional requirement. Non-functional requirement describe how well the system must perform these operations. Scale. Scale tells us how many users, requests, and records the system must support. Reliability tells us what should happen when a component fails. Latency describes how quickly the system should respond. And security defines what information must be protected. Both categories are important. Functional requirements define the features, while the non-functional requirements strongly influence the architecture. Four questions shape the architecture: components, data, communication, trade offs. First, what components are required? This might include services, databases, caches, caches, message queues, and API gateways. These are the components that may be required. Second, how should the data be managed? We must decide what data to store, where to store, and how it will be replicated or partitioned. Third thing is how will the components communicate? Some components may communicate through synchronous APIs, while others may use asynchronous events. Finally, what are the trade-offs? Improving one property can affect another. For example, increasing consistency may reduce availability. Answering these questions gives us a structured way to move from requirements to architecture. So we should ask this question first. Most systems reuse a small set of building blocks. Most software systems are created using a common set of architectural building blocks. The client is the web application, mobile application, or device used by the customer. That is a client. Okay. Gateway, that is receives requests and can manage routing, authentication, and security. Then we have services, contains the application's business logic, database, provides durable storage, and act as a system of record. A cache keeps frequently accessed data in faster storage, reducing database work and response time. A message queue allows tasks to run asynchronously. For example, sending an email does not need to block the user's request. While sending email, that means so that does not need to block the user's request. A good design does not use every possible component. It only introduces components that are justified by the requirements. Let us follow a request through a simple architecture. First, the client sends a request. A load balancer receives it and selects an available service instance. The service processes the business logic. It may first check the cache for frequently requested information. If the data is available there, the system can respond quickly. Otherwise, if the information is not cached, the service retrieves it from database. The database acts as the durable source of truth. The response then travels back to the client. Every additional step introduces some latency and can become a failure point. Therefore, system designers must consider what happens when a service cache, network connection, or database becomes slow or unavailable. Scaling does not mean adding every possible technology. It means finding and removing the current bottleneck. If application servers cannot handle the traffic, we can add more instances. and distribute requests using a load balancer. This is called horizontal scaling. If the database receives too many read requests, we can introduce caching. If the data becomes too large for one database, we can use replication or sharding. Replication creates multiple copies of data, while sharding divides the database across different database servers. The correct process is to measure the system, identify the constraint, improve the design, and measure again. Scaling designs should be based on evidence rather than assumptions. Every architecture is a set of trade offs. There is no single architecture that is best for every application. Every design involves trade offs. Consider consistency and availability. Strong consistency ensures that users immediately see the same data, but it may make the system less available during network problems. We may also choose between latency and durability. Waiting for data to be stored in multiple locations improves durability, but it can increase the response time. Another trade-off exists between simplicity and flexibility. A simple architecture is easier to operate, while a more flexible architecture may support future requirements but introduce additional complexity. The goal is not to avoid trade-off. The goal is to understand them and choose based on the system's priorities. Now, let's let's apply these ideas to a URL shortening service. The first requirement is to accept a long URL from the user. The system then generates a unique short key, such as ABC123. Then, next, the database stores a mapping between the short key and the original URL. When someone opens the shortened key link, the redirect API searches for the key, retrieves the original URL, and redirects the user. This simple architecture may be enough initially. As traffic grows, we can cache popular links, create database replicas for additional read capacity, and partition the data using the sort key. Notice that we begin with the simplest working design and introduce optimization only when measurements justify them. We can use a repeatable 5-step process when designing any system. First, clarify the requirements. Understand the user's important actions, scope, and limitations. Second, quantify the expected scale, estimate traffic, storage, bandwidth, and latency requirements. Third, sketch the high level architecture, define the APIs, data model services, and major components. Fourth, stress test the design mentally, identify bottlenecks, failure points, and security risks. Finally, make and explain the necessary trade offs. Also, describe how the system could evolve as demand increases. A strong system design does not merely show the final architecture. It explains why every decision was made and when that decision might need to change. The core idea is that system design is reasoning at scale. Requirements tell us what matters. Architecture organizes the solution. Trade-offs helps us make honest, and practical technical decisions. Always begin with the simplest design that satisfies the current requirements. Use measurements to identify real problems instead of adding unnecessary complexity. Assume that components can fail and design appropriate recovery mechanism for important operations. Most importantly, explain the reason behind every architectural choice. To practice these concepts, try designing a chat application, notification service, video streaming platform, or file sharing systems. The more systems you design, the better you will become at identifying patterns, bottlenecks, and trade offs. Thanks for watching. Stay connected to Ida Superflow.